And as I said, in reviewing this information, I found that the context of the soul and the body-soul connection is something that goes across all cultures and throughout all periods of time. In other words, if you can look at the Egyptians or the Hindus or Chinese, the Greek and Roman philosophers and so forth, and they all addressed this idea of the soul. And in some instances, they talked about the soul being, for instance, with Plato, he said it was he used the triune model. He said the soul is composed of a divine, rational aspect of God, a mortal, animal part, and an intermediate, interactive aspect, which we might call will. The Romans also had a triune model. And this was important to me to find that there are these views that consider the soul as having these various aspects to it. Because when I looked at the Casey material, I found a similar model of the soul. This comes from Meditation in the Mind of Man by Herb Puryear and Mark Thurston, where they are representing the soul as having mind, will, and spirit. So a triune model of the soul. And of course, this all comes into play as, okay, how does this work in a physical body? So we're a soul, so we have these aspects, how does it work? The other major sort of thing I found when I did this literature review of the various sources, what not only do all these cultures consider the soul and find it extremely important, but they very often associated anatomical parts of the body as the body-soul connection. So we have with Plato the brain and the spinal cord, these coordinators of the vital force, this life force, elan vital, the kundalini, whatever you wish to call it. The brain is well represented in some of these views, and particularly with Hippolytus, the pineal gland connecting the cerebellum with the spinal cord. The pineal gland was a very important aspect of the body-soul connection in the Casey material. We find that again also with René Descartes, the famous French mathematician, philosopher. But notice how much the brain, the spinal cord, even the ventricles of the brain, because the pineal gland itself is suspended down into one of the ventricles in the cerebral spinal fluid. So this idea that there are definite anatomical centers in the body by which the soul connects is an old idea that goes across many cultures and many traditions.